Emperor Gongsuho had ruled this sector of the Galactic Empire for 30 years. He had dealt with trade disputes, territorial conflicts, and diplomatic crises, but he had never faced a decision that would determine the future of humanity itself. The reports from Nexus Station lay open on his desk. Transcripts of conversations with the Deep Voyagers, technical analyses of their impossible technology, philosophical debates about human evolution and destiny. They're asking us to choose between two completely different futures, he said to his advisors gathered in the Imperial Conference Room. Philosopher Im Ye-jin had been studying the Deep Voyager's proposal for days. She was the Empire's leading expert on human nature and social development. The question they're really asking, she said, is what defines humanity? Is it our biology? Our culture? Our ability to work with other species? Or is it something deeper? Our drive to become more than we are? Captain Seo Hyun-woo represented the younger generation of Imperial humans. Many of them were excited by the possibilities the Deep Voyagers offered. With respect, Your Majesty, he said, maybe we're looking at this wrong. Why do we have to choose between staying in the Empire or joining the Deep Voyagers? Why can't we find a third path? Emperor Gong looked at him with interest. Explain. The Deep Voyagers survived 5,000 years in the deep void and became incredibly advanced. But they also became isolated from the rest of galactic civilization. Meanwhile, we've learned to build communities with dozens of different species. But we've stopped pushing the limits of what humans can become. You're suggesting a compromise? I'm suggesting that both approaches have value. Maybe we can take the best parts of each path and create something new. Before the Emperor could respond, alerts began sounding throughout the palace. The Deep Voyagers were demonstrating their power. The massive ship had moved to the center of the Imperial fleet around New Terra. Without any visible weapons fire or energy discharge, every ship in the fleet suddenly went dark. Engines stopped. Weapons powered down. Life support systems switched to emergency backup power. Then, just as quickly, all systems came back online. Admiral Moon's voice crackled through the communications. Your Majesty, they shut down our entire fleet without damaging anything. Complete systems shut down for 30 seconds, then full restoration. I've never seen anything like it, the message was clear. The Deep Voyagers could disable the Empire's military forces at will, but they chose not to cause permanent harm. Captain No's holographic projection appeared in the Imperial Conference Room without any invitation or communication protocols being followed. Their technology allowed them to override any security system the Empire possessed. Forgive the intrusion, she said politely, but we wanted to demonstrate that we are not making idle threats or empty promises. We have the power to reshape this region of the galaxy if we choose to do so. Emperor Gong stood to address her directly. And what do you choose? We choose to honor the bonds of kinship. You are our cousins, descended from the same world and the same dreams of exploring the stars. We will not conquer you or force you to change. But we will establish a presence here, and we will offer alternatives to those who wish to explore them. Commander Bang Woo-sung appeared beside Captain No in the holographic projection. He seemed more moderate than some of the other Deep Voyagers they had encountered. Perhaps, he said, there is a middle path that serves everyone's interests. Emperor Gong gestured for him to continue. We could establish a joint research station at the edge of Imperial space. Humans who wish to explore enhanced evolution could volunteer for experimental programs. Those who prefer to remain unchanged could continue their lives in the Empire, and both groups could share knowledge and resources. Philosopher Im nodded thoughtfully. That would allow for gradual adaptation rather than forcing an immediate choice between two extreme options. But it would also create division within humanity, warned General Nam. Enhanced humans and baseline humans might eventually become separate species entirely, Captain. Seo stood up excitedly. Or it might create the best of both worlds. Enhanced humans could explore dangerous regions of space, while baseline humans maintained connections with the diverse galactic community. We could be both explorers and diplomats. Commander Bang smiled. There are precedents for this approach. On our journey through the void, we encountered species that had divided into specialized subgroups while maintaining overall unity. It can work if all parties are committed to cooperation rather than dominance. Emperor Gong looked around the room at his advisors. Some looked hopeful. Others looked worried. All of them understood that this decision would echo through centuries of human history. What guarantees do we have that this cooperation will remain peaceful? He asked. The same guarantees any family has, Captain No replied. Shared history, common values, and the understanding that our survival depends on working together, rather than fighting each other. The Emperor made his decision. We will establish the Joint Research Station. Volunteers from both populations can participate in exchange programs. Enhanced humans can explore the deep void and warn us of approaching threats. Baseline humans can maintain our relationships with other species and preserve the cultural diversity we've developed within the Empire. Captain Kim Sun-ho, a young officer who had been listening to the entire conversation, stepped forward. Your Majesty, I volunteer to be part of the first exchange mission. You understand what that might mean? Genetic modification? Cybernetic enhancement? Changes that can never be reversed? I understand that I'll be helping to build a bridge between two versions of humanity's future, Kim replied. That seems like the most important mission I could ever accept. Over the following weeks, the Deep Voyager's massive ship began to change again. Sections detached and moved to the edge of the star system, where they began constructing what looked like a space station. But it was unlike any station the Empire had ever seen. The structure grew organically, shaped by technologies that could manipulate matter at the atomic level. Within months, it had become a small city, capable of supporting thousands of residents. Captain Song, who had led the first visual reconnaissance of the Deep Voyagers, was among the first Imperial humans to visit the new station. What he found there amazed him. It's not just a research facility, he reported. It's a living laboratory where baseline humans and enhanced humans work together to explore possibilities neither group could achieve alone. Dr. Choi established a research program to study Deep Voyager technology. Professor Yoon began documenting the biological changes that enhanced humans had undergone. Engineer Han worked with Deep Voyager technicians to develop new spacecraft designs. But perhaps the most important development was the gradual understanding between the two branches of humanity. We are still the same species, Commander Bang explained to a group of Imperial scientists. Enhanced humans and baseline humans can interbreed, share cultures, and work toward common goals. The changes we've made are tools, not fundamental alterations to what makes us human. The Deep Voyager's main ship eventually divided into 12 smaller vessels, each taking position in a different part of human-controlled space. They became guardians, watching for threats from the deep void while maintaining contact with their Imperial cousins. Some humans chose enhancement and joined the Deep Voyagers in their explorations of the galaxy's dangerous regions. Others remained baseline and continued their work within the Empire's diverse civilization. But all of them remained human, united by their common origins and their shared future among the stars. Years later, when the first threats from the galactic rim finally appeared, humanity was ready. Enhanced humans provided advanced warning and military capabilities. Baseline humans coordinated responses with alien allies and maintained the diplomatic networks that held the galaxy together. The choice between evolution and tradition had become something better, a partnership that combined the strengths of both paths while avoiding the weaknesses of either. Humanity had found its way home to itself and in doing so, had become stronger than ever before. The holographic projection filled the main conference room on Nexus Station. Captain No Soo-jin appeared as if she was actually standing there, though she remained aboard her own ship. The technology was far beyond anything the Empire possessed. Ambassador Ryu Han-sol sat across from the projection, joined by Admiral Kang, Professor Yoon, and the other senior officers. This was humanity's first formal meeting with their long-lost cousins from the stars. Tell us about your journey, Professor Yoon asked. She was fascinated by the biological changes she could observe in Captain No's appearance. We left Earth 5,000 years ago, Captain No began. 12 ships, each carrying 10,000 volunteers. We believed that humanity's future lay beyond the known stars, in the deep void where no other species had traveled. The hologram changed to show images of the original fleet. The ships looked primitive compared to current Imperial technology, but they were clearly built for very long journeys. The first 1,000 years were the hardest, Captain No continued. We traveled through empty space far from any stars. Many died, ships broke down. We had to learn to repair and rebuild everything using only what we could find in the void. Scientist Yang He-young leaned forward with interest. How did you survive without resources from inhabited worlds? We learned to harvest materials from asteroids, comets, and the solar wind itself. But more importantly, we learned to change ourselves. The humans who left Earth could not have survived the journey we completed. We had to evolve. The images changed again, showing the gradual transformation of the ships over centuries. They became more organic, more integrated, as if they were growing rather than being built. We merged our consciousness with our machines, Captain No explained. Not completely, but enough to work together as a unified organism. 1,000 humans and their ship's computer became one extended mind, capable of solving problems that no individual could handle alone. Dr. Choi looked at his sensor readings with new understanding. That's why our scans showed thousands of objects acting as one. You weren't flying in formation. You were flying as a single entity. Correct. Each of our ships is now a collective intelligence. We maintain our individual personalities and thoughts, but we can share knowledge and coordinate actions instantly across vast distances. Admiral Kang had been listening quietly, but now he asked the question that everyone was thinking. Why did you come back? After 5,000 years, why return now? Captain No's expression became serious. Because we have seen what lies beyond the galactic rim. There are dangers in the deep void that the Empire has never imagined. Ancient civilizations that view younger species as threats to be eliminated. Machine intelligences that consume entire star systems for raw materials. Forces that could destroy everything you have built. The conference room became very quiet. We spent 3,000 years traveling through territories controlled by these entities. We learned to hide from some, fight others, and occasionally make temporary alliances when necessary. But we always knew we would eventually return to warn our human cousins. Admiral Moon Kyung-ho, who commanded the defense fleet around New Terra, joined the conversation via communication link. Are these threats heading toward our space? He asked. Not immediately, but eventually. The galaxy is not as peaceful as the Empire believes. Most advanced civilizations live near the galactic center, where resources are abundant. But as those resources become scarce, expansion toward the outer rim becomes inevitable. Professor Yoon asked about the biological changes she observed in Captain No. Your appearance has changed significantly from baseline human. Can you tell us about the modifications? We enhanced our bodies to survive in environments that would kill ordinary humans. Extended lifespan, improved radiation resistance, enhanced sensory capabilities, but we remained fundamentally human in our thoughts and emotions. How extended are we talking about? I was born during the second millennium of our journey. I am over 3,000 years old. The number was shocking. The longest-lived humans in the Empire rarely reached 200 years, even with the best medical technology available. We also developed technologies that the Empire has never pursued, Captain No continued. Weapons that can disable electronics without harming living beings. Shields that bend space-time around our ships. Manufacturing systems that can create any needed material from basic atomic particles. General, Nam had been studying the tactical implications of everything he was hearing. You could conquer the Empire easily, couldn't you? He said bluntly. We could disable your entire military force without killing a single person, Captain No confirmed. But conquest was never our goal. We came to offer humanity a choice. Well, what kind of choice? The holographic display changed to show two different images. One showed the current Empire. Millions of worlds, dozens of species living together in relative peace. The other showed human colonies spreading across the galaxy, pushing the boundaries of technology and evolution. You can continue as you are, Captain No said. Comfortable, protected, part of the larger galactic community. It's not a bad life, and humanity has accomplished much within the Empire. Or, Admiral Kang prompted, or you can remember what it means to be human. The drive to explore, to push beyond known limits, to evolve into something greater than what you were. Some of you can join us in preparing for the challenges that lie ahead. Dr. An Mi-young, who had been listening from her laboratory, spoke up through the communication system. You're talking about genetic modification, cybernetic enhancement, fundamental changes to human biology. I'm talking about the next step in human evolution, Captain No replied. The same step our ancestors took when they first left the trees, learned to use fire or built the first spacecraft. Commander Jang Seok-jin disagreed strongly. Humanity's strength comes from our diversity and our ability to work with other species. If we isolate ourselves and focus only on human advancement, we lose what makes us special. Perhaps, Captain No acknowledged. But consider this. In 5,000 years, while you have remained essentially the same, we have become something that can survive threats you cannot imagine. Which path truly serves humanity's long-term survival? The debate continued for hours. Some of the humans present were excited by the possibilities Captain No described. Others were horrified by the idea of abandoning their place in the diverse galactic community. We will not force anyone to choose, Captain No finally said, but we will establish a presence in this region of the galaxy. Those humans who wish to explore the path of enhancement and evolution will be welcome to join us. And those who prefer to remain as they are will continue to live as they always have. But when the threats from the deep void finally reach this region of the galaxy, you will need allies who can stand against them. The holographic projection began to fade as Captain No prepared to end the meeting. We will give you time to consider our offer. But remember, evolution never stops. The question is not whether humanity will change, but whether we will guide that change ourselves or let it be forced upon us by external threats. The projection disappeared, leaving the conference room full of humans who suddenly had to reconsider everything they thought they knew about their own species' future. Governor Kwan Sung Ho was trying to keep 3 million colonists calm when the encrypted message arrived. The people of New Terra had watched the massive fleet gather in their system. They had seen the mysterious ship approaching. They were scared, and he didn't blame them. The message came from Dr. Park Yun-soo, a researcher who lived alone on a small research station in the Outer Territories. Kwan barely knew the man, but the message was marked urgent and contained security codes that were genuine. "Governor," the message began, "you need to see what I found. The ship approaching your system. I think I know what it is." Dr. Park had spent decades studying human history from before the Empire. While other historians focused on the great alien civilizations, he had dedicated his life to understanding humanity's origins. His research station was filled with ancient documents, forgotten languages, and artifacts from humanity's early space exploration. "I've been comparing the ship's energy signatures with records from Earth's first colonial expansion," Dr. Park's message continued. "The patterns match descriptions in our oldest surviving texts. Ships that left Earth over 5,000 years ago, during the first wave expansion." Kwan read the message twice before he understood what Dr. Park was suggesting. "These weren't ordinary colony ships," the message explained. "They were experimental vessels designed to push the limits of human endurance and technology. When Earth's civilization collapsed and the colonial expansion ended, most ships returned home or settled nearby worlds. But some kept going. They chose to continue into the deep void, exploring the far reaches of the galaxy. Captain Ominji received new orders while her battleship waited in formation around New Terra. Admiral Kang wanted her to attempt peaceful contact using ancient human communication protocols. Try the old mathematical sequences, Kang's message instructed. Prime numbers, Fibonacci, basic geometric ratios. But use the ancient human numerical systems, not Imperial Standard. O had to search her ship's database to find the old human numbering systems. They seemed primitive compared to the standardized galactic notation everyone used now. But she followed orders and began transmitting the sequences toward the mysterious ship. The response came faster than she expected. Every human on her ship suddenly heard the voice in their minds again. This time it was stronger, clearer, more personal. "We remember the old numbers," the voice said. "We remember Earth. We remember the blue sky and the silver moon. We remember what it felt like to be young among the stars." O's communications officer, Ko Jae-young, was the first to understand the full implications. "They're not just human," he said with wonder in his voice. "They're our ancestors. The humans who left Earth during the first wave expansion and never came back." The ship moved closer to the fleet, but its approach was gentle and non-threatening. As it came within visual range, the hull began to change more dramatically. The smooth organic surfaces flowed like liquid metal, revealing structure underneath that was clearly of human origin. Ancient symbols became visible across the hull, mathematical equations that humans had used thousands of years ago, star charts showing the positions of stars as they had been when Earth's civilization was young, and writing in languages that predated humanity's contact with the Empire by millennia. "Look at the ship's configuration," O observed. "It's not just advanced technology. It's human technology that has evolved for thousands of years without outside influence. Dr. Park's research proved correct in ways that amazed even him. As he transmitted more historical data to Nexus Station, the picture became clearer. The first wave expansion was humanity's greatest adventure, he explained in a follow-up message. Thousands of ships left Earth to explore the galaxy. Most returned when resources became scarce, but the most ambitious crews chose to keep going, believing that humanity's destiny lay among the distant stars. They called themselves the Deep Voyagers, Dr. Park continued. The last records from Earth mention them disappearing into the galactic void, never to be heard from again. We assumed they had died in the emptiness between stars. Instead, they kept evolving. The ship finally stopped just outside the formation of Imperial warships. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the hull began to change again, opening sections that revealed smaller vessels inside. These smaller ships were clearly designed for living beings. They had viewports, docking mechanisms, and the basic layout of vessels intended to carry crews. But they were seamlessly integrated into the larger structure, as if the entire massive ship was both a vessel and a city. A single small craft detached from the main ship and approached Admiral Lim's flagship. It moved with perfect precision, avoiding the weapon systems and positioning itself in a clearly non-threatening manner. They want to talk, Lim reported to Nexus Station. Ambassador Ryu Hansol was the Empire's top diplomat for first contact situations. He had negotiated with dozens of alien species over his long career. But this was different. This was family that had been lost for thousands of years. He boarded Admiral Lim's flagship and prepared for the most important meeting of his life. The small craft from the mysterious ship docked with the flagship. The airlocks matched perfectly, as if the Deep Voyagers had studied Imperial ship designs and adapted their technology accordingly. When the airlock opened, Ambassador Ryu found himself face to face with a human woman who looked both familiar and completely alien at the same time. She was clearly human in basic structure, but she had been changed by millennia of life in space. Her skin was pale and seemed to shimmer slightly in the light. Her eyes were larger than normal and appeared to see much more of the electromagnetic spectrum than ordinary human eyes. She moved with a fluid grace that suggested enhanced physical capabilities. "I am Captain No Sujin," she said, speaking perfect Imperial Standard, with an accent that sounded like ancient Earth dialects. "I speak for the Deep Voyagers who chose the long path among the stars." "I am Ambassador Ryu Hansol," he replied. "I speak for the Galactic Empire and the humans who remained closer to home." Captain No looked around the Imperial flagship with curious eyes. Everything seemed both familiar and primitive to her. "You have done well," she said finally. "Humanity has grown strong in the Empire. You have learned to work with many species and build great civilizations, but you have forgotten what you could have become on your own." "What do you mean?" "We chose a different path. When the expansion ended and most humans returned to comfortable worlds, we continued into the deep void. We pushed our bodies, our minds, our technology to their absolute limits. We became what humanity was always meant to be." Ambassador Ryu felt a chill as he realized what she was suggesting. The Deep Voyagers hadn't just survived their journey into the galactic void. They had transcended normal human limitations. "We have watched your empire from the distant stars," Captain No continued. "We have seen humanity grow comfortable under the protection of alien civilizations. You have become strong, but you have also become dependent. You have forgotten that humans are capable of so much more." "Are you here to conquer us?" Ryu asked directly. Captain No smiled, and her expression was both sad and proud. "We are here to offer you a choice," she said. "The same choice our ancestors made long ago. You can continue as you are, comfortable and protected within the Empire, or you can remember what it means to be truly human." Chief Historian Bei Yuna had not slept in 36 hours. Her eyes burned as she scrolled through ancient documents on her computer screen. The archives of the Galactic Empire were vast, containing records from thousands of worlds and hundreds of species. If the answer existed, it would be here. "Find anything yet?" Admiral Kang asked as he entered the archive chamber. "Fragments," Bei replied without looking up. "Old stories. Myths mostly. But there are patterns." She pulled up several documents on the main display. They were written in different languages and came from different worlds, but they all told similar stories. "The first children of the stars," she read aloud. The ones who left before the Great Joining. The travelers who chose the long path among the stars. What does that mean? Kang asked. I'm not sure. These records are from the early days of the Empire, when many species were first joining together. Most of the specific details have been lost over time. Admiral Lim Subin's voice crackled through the communication system. All ships are in position around New Terra. 500 warships ready for battle. But Admiral Kang, I have to be honest. I don't think our weapons will be effective against that technology. Through the viewing window, they could see the lights of the gathered fleet. Every major warship in the sector was there. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers. It was the largest military force assembled in decades. The ship is still approaching, Park So-min reported from the command center. 36 hours to New Terra. Engineer Han Bo-ram had been studying the ship's movement patterns for hours. She looked exhausted but excited. I think I understand how they're traveling, she announced. Everyone gathered around her workstation. They're not just moving through space, she explained. They're manipulating it, creating temporary wormholes, bending the fabric of space-time itself. That's how they can move so fast without generating the heat signatures we would expect. Dr. Choi Min-seo nodded eagerly. That explains the sensor readings. Our instruments are detecting the effects of their passage, but they can't properly analyze the technology creating those effects. How is that possible? Kang asked. It requires complete mastery of fundamental forces, Han explained. Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces. They would need to understand physics at a level we can't even imagine. Bei looked up from her archives. That matches what I'm finding in the old stories. References to beings who danced with the stars and bent the void to their will. Suddenly, alerts began sounding throughout the station. The mysterious ship had done something unexpected. It stopped, Park reported, her voice filled with surprise. Just stopped, right at the edge of the New Terra system. Admiral Lim's voice came through the communications again. Confirmed. The ship is holding position. No hostile movements detected. For the first time in days, the command center was completely quiet except for the hum of computers and the gentle beeping of monitoring systems. Why would it stop now? General Nam wondered aloud. Dr. Shin-Eri, the station's psychologist, had been quietly observing everything. Now she spoke up with a theory that made everyone uncomfortable. What if it was never attacking at all? She said. Think about our behavior from their perspective. They appear in our space and immediately we send drones to scan them. When that doesn't work, we send warships. We've been acting like they're a threat from the moment we detected them. They destroyed our drones, Kang pointed out. Did they? Or did they neutralize surveillance devices that were trying to probe their technology? If unknown aliens appeared in human space and immediately started scanning our ships, how would we react? The question hung in the air. Everyone thought about the hundreds of warships now surrounding New Terra, all aimed at the mysterious vessel. You're suggesting they've been studying us? Professor Yoon said slowly. Learning about our tactics, our technology, our responses to unknown threats. Every action we've taken has been a lesson for them, Dr. Shin agreed. They've seen how we organize our defenses, how we communicate, how we make decisions under pressure. If they wanted to attack us, they now know exactly how to do it most effectively. Captain Song's squadron was still maintaining visual contact with the ship. His reports had been coming in regularly. The formation is changing again, he reported. But it's different this time, more relaxed. The ships are spreading out into a more comfortable pattern. Like they're not expecting to fight, Park observed. Engineer Han was still studying the sensor readings. I'm detecting new energy patterns from the ship. They're running deep scans of the New Terra system, but very gently, like they're being careful not to damage anything. Scanning for what? Kang asked. I think they're scanning for life. Biological signatures, population centers. They're mapping where the colonists live. The implications were terrifying. Either the ship was preparing to attack those population centers, or it was making sure not to harm innocent people. Bei suddenly stood up from her archive station, her face pale with shock. I found something, she said. It's buried deep in the oldest human records from before we joined the Empire. There are references to colony ships that left Earth during humanity's first expansion into space, ships that chose not to return when the expansion collapsed. She pulled up a document on the main display. It was written in an ancient human language that few people could still read. This talks about the distant children who took a different path among the stars. It says they chose evolution over tradition, advancement over comfort. The last line says, she paused to translate the old words. The last line says, they will return when the galaxy needs them most, changed by their journey but still our own. You think the ship is human? Kang asked incredulously. I think it might be, or at least it might have been human once. Dr. Choi looked at his sensor readings again. If that's true, it would explain some of the energy patterns we're seeing. The basic quantum signatures are similar to our technology, but evolved far beyond our current capabilities. Kim Hae-won had been trying different communication approaches for hours. Now she tried something new. Instead of using standard imperial frequencies, she used old human mathematical concepts and prime number sequences. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every human on Nexus Station suddenly heard a voice in their head, not through their ears, but directly in their minds. The voice was warm and familiar, like hearing from a friend after a long separation. Hello, cousins, the voice said. We've come home. The command center erupted in shocked voices and confused questions. Only humans had heard the message. The alien crew members looked around in confusion, wondering what was happening. Did everyone hear that? Kang asked. Nods and murmurs of confirmation came from all the human crew members. The ship, Park said, staring at her display in amazement. It's changing again. On the screen, they watched as the mysterious vessel's hull began to flow and shift. Symbols appeared on its surface. Symbols that looked like ancient human writing systems that had been lost for thousands of years. They are human, Bay whispered. Humans who left so long ago that we forgot they existed. Humans who evolved beyond anything we imagined possible. The ship began to move again, but slowly this time. Gently, like it was coming home after a very long journey. The lights on Nexus Station blinked in their usual pattern. Red, green, blue. Red, green, blue. Admiral Kang Woo-jin watched them from his chair in the command center. He had seen these lights for 20 years. Today felt different. Sir, we have something strange on the sensors, Park So-min called out from her station. Her voice was tight with worry. Kang stood up and walked over to her screen. What kind of strange? A contact on the outer rim. It's big. Really big. And it's moving fast. Too fast. The screen showed a small dot at the edge of their scanning range. Numbers rolled across the bottom. Speed, size, direction. All the numbers were wrong. How big are we talking about? Kang asked. Bigger than our largest battleship. Maybe 10 times bigger. Maybe more. Lee Dong-ho looked up from his computer at the archive station. I'm running the signature through our database now. Give me a few minutes. Kang nodded and walked back to his chair. In 20 years of service, he had seen many strange things. Pirates with stolen ships, ancient alien vessels that had been drifting for centuries, traders from far systems with unusual designs. But this felt different. The ship is not responding to our hails, Kim Hae-won reported from communications. I've tried all standard frequencies, nothing. Keep trying, Kang said. Use the emergency channels too. Minutes passed. The dot on the screen grew slightly larger as the unknown ship came closer. It moved in a straight line toward the core systems. No course corrections, no stopping, just steady movement toward the heart of the Empire. Archive search complete, Lee announced. His face was pale. There's nothing. No match at all. Kang felt cold fingers touch his spine. Nothing? Run it again. I already did. 3 times. This ship designed this energy signature this size. It's not in our records anywhere. And our records go back 50,000 years. The command center became very quiet. Everyone looked at their screens or their hands. In the Galactic Empire, everything was cataloged. Every ship design, every species, every technology. If something wasn't in the archives, it meant one of 2 things. Either it was completely new, or it was so old that all records had been lost. Launch reconnaissance drones, Kang ordered. I want close-up scans of that ship. Yes, sir, Park said. Her fingers danced over the controls. Drones away. They'll reach the target in 30 minutes. Kang sat down and rubbed his forehead. He had a bad feeling about this. In his experience, when something looked impossible, it usually was dangerous too. Kim tried the communications again. Unknown vessel, this is Nexus Station. Please respond. You are entering restricted space. Silence. Unknown vessel, we are tracking your approach. Please state your intentions. Still nothing. The drones are getting close, Park reported. Beginning scanning sequence now. The main screen switched to show the feed from the lead drone. At first, there was only the darkness of space and distant stars. Then something appeared, a shape that didn't belong. The ship was like nothing Kang had ever seen. It was smooth and angular at the same time. Its surface seemed to shift and change as they watched. Sometimes it looked black. Sometimes it looked silver. Sometimes it seemed to absorb all light around it. "Are you getting clear readings?" Kang asked. "The scans are strange," Park said. "The hull material is not in our database. The energy readings don't make sense. It's like the ship is bending space around itself. Can you get closer?" "I'm trying." "The drones are having trouble with the gravity fields around the ship." Suddenly, the screen went white, then black. "Drone 1 is gone," Park said. "Just gone. What happened?" "I don't know. It was there, then it wasn't. No explosion, no debris. It just stopped existing." Kang stood up again. "Send Drone 2 on a different approach. Stay further back. Already doing it. Drone 2 is— Wait, it's gone too." "What?" "All 3 drones. They're all gone. As soon as they got within scanning range, they just disappeared." The command center was silent except for the hum of computers and the soft beeping of monitoring systems. Everyone stared at the screen where the mysterious ship continued its steady approach. "How long until it reaches the first colony system?" Kang asked. Lee checked his calculations. "At current speed, 72 hours. Send a message to Fleet Command. Priority 1. We need backup." "Already sent," Kim said. "They're mobilizing the sector fleet." Kang walked to the big viewing window that looked out into space. He couldn't see the approaching ship with his eyes, but he knew it was out there, coming closer every second. "There's something else," Kim said quietly. "I've been monitoring all our communication attempts. The ship isn't just ignoring us." "What do you mean?" "It's listening, learning. Each time we send a signal, it responds with a tiny burst of energy. Not enough to be a message, but enough to show it heard us. And the energy patterns are changing, getting more complex. Like it's figuring out how our communications work." Park looked up from her station. "The ship just changed course slightly. It's now heading directly for New Terra colony." New Terra had 3 million people, families, children, workers, who had spent their whole lives building a new world, far from the crowded core systems. "Time to intercept?" Kang asked. 68 hours, Lee replied. Kang looked around the command center at his crew. They were good people, smart people, but they looked scared. He was scared too, though he tried not to show it. "Kim, send another message to the ship. Tell them we have civilians in the system they're approaching. Ask them to change course." Kim nodded and sent the message. They waited. The response came faster than expected. Not in words, but in action. The mysterious ship increased speed. "It's moving faster now," Park reported. "Much faster. New time to intercept?" 48 hours. Kang sat down heavily in his chair. Whatever was coming, they had less than 2 days to figure out how to stop it. The problem was they didn't even know what it was. Outside the viewing window, the stars looked the same as always. Peaceful, eternal. But somewhere out there in the darkness, something unknown was racing toward them. Something that didn't exist in any database. Something that destroyed their drones without a trace. Something that was learning about them with every passing hour. Professor Yoon Ji-hai arrived at Nexus Station 12 hours after the first alert. She came with 3 assistants and a bag full of instruments for studying alien life. General Nam Tai-ho arrived at the same time with maps and battle plans. "Show me everything you have," Professor Yoon said as soon as she walked into the command center. Admiral Kang led her to the main display. The mysterious ship appeared as a bright dot moving steadily toward New Terra colony. Around it, space seemed to bend and twist in ways that hurt to look at. "We've never seen anything like it," Kang explained. "No match in the archives, no response to communications, and it destroyed our drones the moment they got close." Professor Yoon studied the display with sharp eyes. She was the Empire's best xenobiologist. If anyone could figure out what they were dealing with, it was her. "The energy patterns are fascinating," she said after several minutes. "Look at the way space curves around the vessel. This isn't just advanced technology. This is physics we don't understand." Dr. Choi Min-seo looked up from his calculations. He had been working non-stop since arriving 2 hours ago. "I think I know what we're looking at," he said. "It's not one ship." Everyone turned to stare at him. The energy readings suggest thousands of smaller objects flying in perfect formation. They're creating the illusion of one massive vessel, but really it's a swarm of smaller craft working together. General Nam studied the tactical implications. If that's true, we're not dealing with a single target. We're dealing with a coordinated fleet that can act as one unit. That would explain the strange scanning result. Park So-min added, our sensors can't focus on individual targets because they're constantly shifting positions within the formation. Professor Yoon nodded slowly. Intelligence like that requires either perfect artificial coordination or a hive mind mentality. Either way, we're dealing with something far more advanced than us. Captain Song Jae-hoon had been listening quietly from the back of the room. He commanded the Empire's elite reconnaissance squadron. His ships were fast and his pilots were the best in the sector. I want to try a visual approach, he said. Long-range, passive sensors only. Maybe if we don't seem threatening, they won't destroy us like the drones. General Nam shook his head. Too dangerous. We can't risk pilots on a reconnaissance mission. With respect, sir, we need to know what we're facing. My squadron can stay outside weapons range and use telescopic cameras. Pure observation, no active scanning. Admiral Kang considered the proposal. They needed information and time was running out. Do it. But at the first sign of hostile action, you retreat immediately. Song saluted and left to prepare his squadron. Within an hour, 6 sleek reconnaissance ships launched from Nexus Station. They moved toward the mysterious vessel using minimal power, trying to look like space debris rather than military craft. Professor Yoon watched their progress on the tracking display. If this is a first contact scenario, we need to be very careful. One wrong move could start a war we can't win. What kind of species are we likely dealing with? General Nam asked. Based on the technology level, probably very old. Very advanced. The fact that they can coordinate thousands of ships in perfect formation suggests either cybernetic enhancement or collective consciousness. They might not think like individuals the way we do. Dr. Choi looked up from his computer again. I'm getting strange readings from the direction of the ship. It's like they're scanning us too, but using methods our instruments can barely detect. Scanning for what? Kang asked. Everything. Our technology, our biology, our communications. They're learning about us just like we're trying to learn about them. Kim Hae-won's console chimed with an incoming transmission. Captain Song is reporting visual contact. The main screen switched to show the feed from Song's lead ship. At maximum magnification, they could see the mysterious vessel clearly for the first time. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The hull was smooth and organic looking, like it had been grown rather than built. Surfaces flowed into each other without visible seams or joints. The whole ship seemed to pulse gently like a living thing breathing. Are those weapons? General Nam pointed to structures along the hull. Dr. Choi enhanced the image. I don't think so. They look more like sensors or communication arrays, very sophisticated ones. As they watched, the ship began to change. The hull sections moved and shifted, reconfiguring themselves into new patterns. What had looked like a single massive vessel now clearly showed itself as thousands of smaller craft flying in perfect formation. It's responding to our presence, Professor Yoon observed. Look at the way the formation is adapting. Captain Song's voice came through the communications. The ship is... It's copying us, and what do you mean? Kang asked. Our flight formation. The way we're positioned relative to each other. The ship is rearranging itself to match our formation exactly. On screen, they could see it happening. The swarm of smaller ships moved until they were flying in the same pattern as Song's squadron. Same distances, same angles, same relative positions. That's impossible, General Nam said. They would need to analyze our formation and coordinate thousands of ships to match it. All in real time. Not impossible, Professor Yoon said quietly. Just far beyond our capabilities. The mysterious ship held the copied formation for several minutes. Then it began to change again, creating new patterns that seemed to be variations on the original theme, like it was experimenting with different arrangements. It's learning, Dr. Choi said. Every observation we make, every formation we fly, every signal we send, it's all data for them to study. Captain Song's voice came through again, tension clear in his words. Admiral, the ship is moving toward us. Slowly but definitely approaching. Maintain position but be ready to retreat, Kang ordered. It's not hostile movement, Song reported. More like curious, like they want a closer look at us too. Professor Yoon leaned forward, studying the display intently. This could be a breakthrough. They're showing interest in peaceful contact. Maybe we can establish communication. Or maybe they're getting close enough to destroy us, General Nam countered. The mysterious ship stopped just outside optimal weapons range. The formation of smaller craft spread out slightly, creating a pattern that almost looked like an open hand. "That looks like a greeting gesture," Professor Yoon said. "In many cultures, an open hand means peaceful intentions." Kim tried sending a simple mathematical sequence toward the ship. Prime numbers followed by the Fibonacci sequence, universal concepts that any intelligent species would recognize. The response was immediate. The ship's formation changed to mirror the mathematical patterns they had sent. First prime numbers, then Fibonacci, then something new, more complex mathematical concepts that Dr. Choi had to work to identify. "They're showing us advanced mathematics," he said excitedly. "These calculations are beyond our current understanding, but the basic principles are recognizable." For the first time since the crisis began, Admiral Kang felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this wouldn't end in war. Maybe they were about to make contact with a peaceful but advanced civilization. Then the ship did something unexpected. It began to move toward New Terra colony again, but slower this time. As if inviting them to follow. "They want us to come with them," Professor Yoon said. "Or they want us to watch what they do to the colony," General Nam replied grimly. Either way, they would know soon enough. The mysterious ship was still heading for New Terra, and time was running out.